Should we go to the next point?
Let's do it.
Keeping going after beatdowns.
Oh.
Can I tell you something on this, Grant?
Go.
Do you know I've quit property investing 3 times?
Have you really? That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, I look at it and go, there was a point where we made the, I'll say, interesting decision to buy 2 properties at once and have 2 settlements at once with a child in the first year of their age. Like, Jack was only quite little and a ton of things going on in the world. We overloaded ourselves way too much with doing that because we had an expectation that these settlements should go smoothly. That these banks, and I know we've mentioned this in a previous point, well, that's all going to be fine. Like, all these things were there. And then when it wasn't, like it beat us down. Like after those properties had failed settlement numerous times and then finally settled, it was like we were just like we'd had enough. Like we'd really had enough.
How interesting. Do you think, because that's a personal beatdown, like that's you guys are knackered dealing with a child, dealing with like the business that you run, dealing with like 2 settlements at the same time, like that is just a barrage that very few humans will accept. So I just suspect that you would not go running into that situation again. Do you think that this beatdown also applies to, like, imagine someone buys a property that does not do too well and that it might go backwards or like it might drop in value, to be more specific, and someone looking at that saying, well, that's just a situation that it is going through now, but in the future it might or should come good. You know what? I'm happy to keep going even though I've been beaten down on this one.
Yeah, so in our situation, what we didn't recognize was just how much work was going to be required. And it's like the risk was actually in the investor, not the investment.
That's
so those, to be clear, both of those properties have done fantastically well. Like I'm thrilled with them both. And in hindsight, of course, not being in the pain of those moments now, look at it and go, was a really good decision, but that was not an experience that was enjoyable. That was eating glass. It really was for us. And a bit was going on for me in business as well. And then, of course, it was around like I think it was around an Easter or something where we had family events on as well. Like,
of course it was.
Terrible planning on our part.
I love that separation that you put between like the investor versus the investment.
Yeah.
So beatdowns happen to both.
When we looked at it, which we got over it eventually after having a break from it, clearly.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't sound like it.
It was a spur of a moment thing. I'm still a little bit bitter if you haven't picked up on that, and I probably wouldn't do it again. But when I look at that going forward, we just both recognize is why our life is like this. Doing things like that doesn't make sense, even if the investment is good. So I would look at that for someone who's listening to this and saying, if your life is chaos right now and carnage, adding property investing in, probably not a great idea.
Yeah.
It's going to test you in different ways and you want to be prepared for that. Now, on the other side of things, you mentioned a great point about like, what if an investment hasn't gone well? I would find that far more challenging. So let's say you've just bought a place and I'll say for 500 grand and you've lost 100 grand on it. I'd get trigger shy, wouldn't you?
Totally. I do, totally.
So I'm always very impressed with people like Keith Cunningham or many investors who bought like off-plan apartments, lost money, but then have been able to get the courage to get it back and get back on the horse. And I would like to believe that I am that type of person as well. I haven't experienced that type of thing, but I've certainly taken hits in business and then gotten back on the horse.
Yep.
So
I'm sure
it's
you
a different way to think about it.
It was actually an unexpected challenge of like speaking to other people that bought investment properties where they got beaten down and they were almost like trying to push it on me, going, well, this is my journey. It's going to be the same for you. And that was actually a challenge where it was like, oh, okay, I see that your beat down, to use this example, on an investment is now you've taken it with you for the rest of their life to the point that you now want to influence other people. I remember talking to a family friend and he's like, take it into property. This is worse. Let me tell you about the house that I bought off the plan and where that went. I'm like,
you got to be so careful around beliefs here. So my belief is there's people that make money in property and there's people that lose money in property. And there's people that make money in shares and there's people that lose money in shares. And there's people that make money in business and there's people that lose money in business. And my fundamental view on investing, business and life is there's people who've done well and not well at everything. if you're looking for blanket rules, it generally doesn't go well. I can't find any evidence of it. Can you tell me tell me anything where it's like everyone gets the same result?
No. And it's not even a bell curve. It's not even like, well, everyone just kind of roughly lands in the middle. And like everyone's like these extremes to the other side. It's like, no, it's not even that.
I've literally given two people the same book and they've come to a different outcome. Right? Totally. It's like there's just in everything, there's such things. So it's so dangerous in the idea of that, hey, if, I heard this guy, he ate a meal once and he got food poisoning, he died. Fuck, better not eat again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes. I love that example. I find this fascinating. See, I haven't gone through personally any beatdowns as an investor yet. Noting that like we've bought houses approximately 6 months apart from each other, being very methodical around like how do we just like smoothly go through the thing. However, I'm acutely aware that on my accumulator run now, I suspect I'm going to get a beatdown at some point.
It's going to happen. And totally. To your point, it might be that you have a kid and you don't have time for property at that point. It might be the market turns. It might be, or I'm going to say you have had a beatdown. Interest rates go up.
That's fair. That is fair.
I would suspect that for many people right now, interest rates have gone up and it's been a bit of a beatdown and it's stopped them.
Totally. Yeah. I love the boxing analogy because it was definitely a knockdown and I got to the count of 5 and I was brushing off the gloves and I'm like, let's go again versus like a complete knockout when I was like, I'm not touching that thing with a 10-foot pole.
So these are the dangerous ones, right? These are the ones I find really interesting is like if you get into something and have a truly bad experience, it's easy to go, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
It's these ones here where it's like, oh, interest rates have gone up and they sideline you. And it's like you end up on the sideline for too long. You end up like actually not getting back into it. You kind of stay on the fence. You start watching the news and doubting yourself. And it's like you kind of created your own beatdown.
Yeah. And then your belief continues to fulfill its own prophecy.
Huge. Absolutely huge.
All right, fellow property investor. If you loved the value from this short video and wanted to know more about how you can win at property investing, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now. Alternatively, click subscribe and you'll never miss another one of these videos.